Thanks, Eunice. First off, I just wanted to start off by thanking everyone in this room, media, and our staff who covered the team. I think we've come a long way in MLS in terms of coverage and telling the stories that are written by the players and the coaches. And just want to say how much we appreciate you coming along for the ride. You got to do your jobs, obviously, sometimes, and it's not always going to reflect the best on the club. But we're open to that, and we just appreciate all the hours and late nights that it takes to do what you do. So thank you. And then as for the season, I know we'll get into the questions here, but I'll just kick off by saying how a remarkable journey it's been over the past 12 months. To think that we were searching for a coach, or I just hired Wilfried this week last year, to fast forward 12 months and we're lifting the trophy for this club in this city. It's been a remarkable journey. It's had its ups and downs, but it's what makes it all worth it. Before the match, the whole staff message that basically said there's certain times in your life that you remember more than others. The weddings, the births, the graduations, sometimes the deaths and memories of loved ones. But for me, it's always about those, along with the opportunity to win trophies surrounded by the people that you care about, because that's what matters. And so I think you saw that on the pitch on Saturday, the outpouring of the love, frankly, the love in the support that each of the players gave each other and the coaching staff, and just the pure joy, which has been a theme that's run through this team throughout this year. So, obviously you don't always come out on top, but when you do, to be surrounded by a group like we have today, from ownership down to our academy staff, it's been a trip of a lifetime. So, thanks. I think consistency is one of the competitive advantages in MLS. I think with the number of matches that will be required of this team in probably the most congested schedule in history of Major League Soccer, it will require players who know the system and know the club values. So first and foremost, it's a reflection of just the schedule next season. I believe the teams that played the most games, LAFC this year, around 53 games, something like that. And I think that's the league high. I've had experience in the past where my club has gone far in Champions League, Champions Cup now, and it really sacrificed the regular season, and we didn't make the playoffs. I think almost all teams that have made them Champions Cup finals have not made the playoffs. And that's it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that in our league, and it's due to the travel and the time zones and the schedule congestions. In Europe, most teams are able to play midweek games in multiple competitions and not have to sacrifice for one or the other. And so I think that's when it comes down to roster decisions, we need a group together that knows how to compete in MLS. But now we're going beyond. MLS will be competing in Champions Cup and U.S. Open Cup, in Leagues Cup, in Campeones Cup. There might be another cup I'm forgetting, but it's fun to play in these matches, but it takes more than a useful squad, which is your sort of top 15 players. It's going to take probably a full 30, maybe dipping down into crew 2, calling players up for these competitions. So we're probably going to need 40 players. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I start off by just saying a few words about Wilfried generally and his approach and his collaborative nature. I mean, he comes with a passion and conviction in what he does, but also levity and humility to bring in other people along for the decision-making process. And I think when I reflect back to our criteria looking for a coach, we sort of had 3 different buckets that we gave equal weight, right? It was first the person we're hiring. Just forget about soccer for a moment. Just who is the person that we're hiring, and then it's their role within a club and that this person needs to understand that, gone are the days where it's just about one person at the club. There's a lot of things happening at a club in the modern days, from the academy to Crew 2, the first team, ownership spread across multiple cities, that you're a part of this, a collective. And then the third was the coach, the tactics, the way you motivate players. And in each of those buckets, Wilfried checked all the boxes. And not only that, but just exceeded what we expected going through that process once we were able to talk to him. And then he, not only that, then actually when he arrives, talking about ability to hold players accountable, because they actually want it, right? I think if you let them, if you let the environment be too loose, then you're probably not going to create a championship culture and that sort of championship mindset. So I remember in preseason a moment, I won't name the players, but a high-profile player that and really Wilfried took him aside right away from one of the first training sessions in the bubble and set the tone right away that there's this is about the collective and so it's about alignment with and I think Wilfried and Issa and Corey and Mark and Jamie, alignment with the leadership group, and that's what Wilfried brings in so many ways. And it comes down to roster decisions too, but those almost become easy to make because I understand where he sits with almost every player. It's not like we have to sit down and have this big meeting at the end because there's no surprises with Wilfried. And I think that's what everyone appreciates. I mean, every season's different, right? So we'll come back in preseason and there'll be players that have won championships. So the players have changed. It's not like we're Sean Zwatsky in January is not the same Sean Zwatsky was last January. So I think it'll be a discussion with the players and with Wilfried over the next 38 days about what our goals are. So I think until we set our goals, I think it'll be hard to really say, hey, this is what we have to do. I mean, clearly teams will play us differently, probably maybe sit in a lower block, although we would pull them out in the way that we do, and then, but there's going to be some things that we clearly have to look at. Always, as we push numbers forward, Wilfried, always talks about our defenders' ability to defend 1v1. So I think that's a craft that you continually have to work on, is kind of what spaces do you take up when you're on rush defense so that you're ready for the transition. Set pieces is always something on on both sides of the ball, but I'll talk to Wilfried and we'll do a full sort of autopsy, if you will, of the season and decide kind of where we want to, I would say, more evolve the team than, and I think that's the language he would use, evolve the team rather than just kind of areas of improvement.
Setting aside the other competitions for a second, you've done this in MLS, building a team, and building off of a team who's won championships. You're discussing. How challenging will these next couple months, if even that long, be for you guys to just kind of get it moving in the right direction, again, specifically looking at defending your MLS Cup?
Mm-hmm.
Do you lean on those past experiences and things you learned?
Yeah, certainly. I think you have a group of people in this club who've won a number of trophies. Mark in Seattle, obviously our staff in various places, and I think we'll approach each challenge that we face in the same way we did this year, which is discuss our goals. We'll debate. We'll probably argue at times, but I think the first thing we have to do is understand that there will be challenges, and that the number of games, the sheer number of games, will probably be the first thing we have to attack. Is how do you balance out all the number of games, and then we're going to have one of the shortest, not the shortest off season, but actually shortest preseason, because there's a mandated number of days that the players need off. So then we could have a slate of games going sort of Wednesday, Saturday for a number of weeks into the first part of this season. And so that's the challenge. is the first challenge, at least, that we'll have to face. But when you're the reigning champion, you're always going to get every team's best game. And I think the way that we play and the way that we won the title this year, it'll be even more of that. We'll see. I think when you look at this season, our biggest learning came on the road. I point to the few games. The first game of the year when we played in Philly and we lost 4-1. But I always go to, what Wilfried talks about. It's not always about the result, especially early in the year. And if you look at the first half, even though we lost 4-1, we showcased a different brand of football that I don't think people had seen before. And I thought, okay, there's in Wilfried, there's something here, right? But the Nashville game, when we got scored, I think it was 90 plus 5. That one hurt. But you saw a locker room step up and come together and sort of understand that was an area where we needed to improve this year. And Stephen Moreira in particular, I remember after the game really speaking and being vocal about addressing that and being better. And I think, you could point to other matches, Orlando, and even Atlanta in the playoffs. And I think that defines MLS teams quite a bit nowadays because it's you win a lot of games at home. It's easier in front of your crowd, but can you get points on the road? And what does it look like? Does it look like your team, or do you have to kind of switch the way you play? And I think that's one of the characteristics of this team was clearly as Wilfried's desire and ability to maintain our identity home or away. Mm-hmm.
Mechanisms and whatnot. You mentioned Crew 2. Does that mean you work more with Corey and those guys to maybe bring in a higher level player at that level?
Yes, yeah. I think the first thing is the number of players obviously we brought back and the extensions and then also working for players that maybe need new contracts. So we'll start conversations with those who aren't up but maybe outplaying their contract and so. So we'll look at that. Then we'll look from within first. So Crew 2 and our sort of emerging talent academy group. So we'll sit with Mark Nichols and Corey Ray and Laurent Courtois and kind of go through which players Wilfried will want in preseason. And that's an opportunity for all the players because Wilfried and his coaching staff have shown a desire to kind of bring young players along and to develop them. So really excited to see what kind of group we can bring in preseason. Now, you're always balancing the need of keeping it tight, but also giving opportunities, but also, sort of the class size and ability to dedicate attention to certain players. So it has to be the right balance. But we look from our current roster, how players can develop. Then we'll look internally at our emerging talents in Crew 2 and Academy. And then opportunities will come for trades within the league. And then we're already, with Neil McGuinness and our scouts, we're already looking at players internationally to bring in. So I would expect at least a few signings. We're very close already on at least one. And so we're excited about, creating varied looks, I would say. There's, again, if people understand who we are, then we're going to have to probably change things up a bit in terms of maybe some of the attributes of our attacking players, for example. Do we find players that we have the ability to beat you a little bit more 1v1? So there's a couple things that we'll look at in terms of roster build. First off, we haven't received anything official yet. The number of scouts that have come to our game, international scouts that have come to our game, has increased quite a bit this year. So typically they ask for tickets, so you at least know who's in your building. But there's nothing formal. What I will say is I think it's a trend across our league is the knowledge, the word is out on MLS and the word is out on our team. So we would expect to have interest in our players, and so we will prepare for multiple scenarios, as we've said. We always try to, but it's probably more important this offseason than ever. We don't want to lose anyone. We would want to keep this group together, but at the same time, players have goals, and some players, it may benefit them to go and see a different environment. So we'll sit down with each player. We haven't done it yet. We'll work through player meetings over the next couple of weeks and into preseason. There's also call-ups. We have a number of players that are going to be called up into the U.S. And other national teams, Colombian national team, Cape Verde. So we'll find time with the players to discuss those goals, Mike, and then work through things as they come. I mean, that's the only way you can do it. And nowadays, there's players surround themselves with their family, their reps, and it's a collective decision.
Julian was obviously a guy you brought in mid-season. He came started rather quickly. Had his role in the playoffs. Wilfried talked some about the decision to not re-sign him, but is this a situation where he will not be back, or could something still be agreed upon between you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's a. Can I say I don't know yet right now? I don't. I would. He was a great addition to this team. His leadership, his experience, his ability to serve balls from that wide position. I think it's always hard because now that we have free agency, it's people have different goals, and some of them obviously are on the pitch, others are financial, and you got to think about your family. So I want to first off just credit Julian for the way he came in and contributed right from the start, and was professional and a leader in a lot of ways. You look at him in the locker and you say you have confidence in your team when Julian Gressel is on the field. And then if he's coming off the bench in the playoffs, he changed the game in Cincinnati in so many ways. And so credit to him. But at the same time, when there's free agency, it becomes a collective decision again that you're going to have with him. And so I don't know where that's going to head at this point.